What's up, Ma?
Everything's good, baby. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
I love you.
I love you too. Yeah, my mom's is single. Mom's is single. I ain't gonna hate on my mom's. She's single. Me and my mom talked about one time doing a dating show with her. And she's so picky. She come with me to strip club. I don't care. Real. It's my dog, you know, I wanna live life. We out here moving and grooving. So my mom told me, she just said, keep moving, baby.
I protected them. I didn't let people, do certain things around them.
Tina Knowles slammed Janice Combs for what she did to her own son, and that one silent move exposed everything. When Tina liked a post accusing Diddy and Jay-Z of t-ficking a 13-year-old girl, people called it an accident. But that single click raised a bigger question. What does Tina Knowles know about Diddy and about his mother, Janice Combs?
Miss Janice Combs been around for a long time, and she's a trendsetter. Where you think Little Kim, Mary J. Blige, and the rest of them get that blonde hair from? She popped up in the club with the blonde hair.
Janice has been accused of helping Diddy cover up years of abuse, hide money, and manipulate victims. But Tina's reaction made one thing clear. She's seen enough.
A new lawsuit filed by R&B singer Cassie.
Cassie describing the music mogul as a vicious, cruel, and controlling man.
So the question is, how did Janice Combs raise a man who became this dangerous? Before the scandals, the FBI raids, and the lawsuits, there was just Janice Combs, a proud, stylish woman often seen on red carpets beside her son, Sean Diddy Combs. To most of the world, she was simply a mother who had done the impossible. She raised a billionaire mogul after her husband was gunned down in Harlem. She built a life for her children in a dangerous city. She was a symbol of strength. But the deeper you look, the more disturbing the picture becomes. According to Diddy, his father was murdered when he was just 3 years old. That trauma shaped everything that came after. Janice, then a young model and part-time school assistant, worked tirelessly to support him. But some claim she did far more than just model and teach. Rumors have circulated for years that Janice was also involved in escorting and work, allegations that haven't been confirmed, but keep resurfacing as Diddy's legal troubles grow. And what makes all of this worse is what Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, revealed.
But the apple don't fall far from the tree, man. You gotta realize that. You know, he didn't get all this from his daddy, because he didn't know his daddy, even though they try to say his daddy was some big-time drug dealer in the whole 9 yards.
He wasn't joking. He wasn't vague. Gene claimed Janice was not just aware of Diddy's wild parties. She was allegedly there, not as a victim, but as a willing participant. Describing her as a cougar, he claimed Janice surrounded herself with young men, wore provocative clothing, and copied the styles of women like Lil' Kim and Mary J. Blige. That alone might seem odd, but not criminal, until you look at the lawsuits. Former Bad Boy executive Kirk Burrows filed a bombshell lawsuit accusing Janice of participating in a decades-long scheme involving intimidation, fraud, and financial concealment. He says he was forced to give up his 25% stake in Bad Boy Entertainment after being threatened by Diddy, while Janice allegedly orchestrated where the stolen shares ended up, in her name. And there's more.
We were renegotiating with Arista. We were about to get a step up in the money. I had 25% of the company. I didn't know why he needed to get that back from me.
According to court documents, after Diddy used a baseball bat to intimidate Burrows into signing over his shares, the business was quietly restructured. Janice became one of the primary holders, all while playing the sweet, supportive mother in public. And maybe she was at first, but what's clear now is that Janice didn't just raise a music mogul. She stood by him as his world turned darker, not just as a bystander, but possibly as an enabler. And when Tina Knowles made her move, it wasn't out of nowhere. It was because she'd seen enough, and it was subtle. So subtle that Tina Knowles may have thought no one would notice. In December 2024, she liked an Instagram post. That alone shouldn't be headline news, but this wasn't a birthday photo. It wasn't a family vacation. It was a breaking report from ABC 7 Chicago, a civil lawsuit accusing Jay-Z and Diddy of essaying a 13-year-old girl.
The lawsuit was originally filed in October against Sean Diddy Combs, now refiled to openly name Jay-Z as his alleged co-conspirator.
It didn't mention Janice Combs directly, but it didn't have to. Everyone knew the implications. implications. The lawsuit not only targeted two of the biggest names in Black entertainment, it hinted at a culture of silence and protection around them. That same culture Janice Combs had been accused of fostering for decades, and when Tina Knowles hit like on that post, the internet exploded. Was Tina Knowles making a statement, or was it just a mistake? To the public, it didn't matter. Screenshots flew across X and Instagram. Fan accounts began asking, why would Beyoncé's mother, who has always stayed quiet in public, engage with this particular post? Did she know something? Was this her way of silently showing support for the victim? Or was it a warning shot? Commentators didn't miss the deeper context. This wasn't just about Diddy. It was about Janice, a woman Tina had likely interacted with at industry events for years. A woman who, like Tina, had a front row seat to how power operated behind the scenes. And yet, the two mothers couldn't be more different. Where Tina protected her family from scandal at all costs, Janice often appeared to be right in the middle of Diddy's. The timing of the Instagram like made it feel less like a mistake and more like a moment of truth, a crack in the polished silence, a digital gesture that said what words never could. And then, just as quickly as it happened, it vanished. Tina deleted the like. Hours later, she posted an Instagram story claiming she'd been hacked. I was hacked. As you all know, I do not play about my family. No weapon formed against them shall prosper. It was the kind of vague statement designed to calm the storm. But instead, it only poured gasoline on the fire. Because if she had been hacked, why wasn't anything else touched? Why not her photos? Her inbox? Why just that one post? The silence that followed said everything. Tina Knowles had unintentionally walked into a war, and the moment she realized how deep it ran, she backed out. But by then, the damage was done, because now everyone was asking the same question. What did Tina Knowles know about Janice Combs? When Tina Knowles posted that she'd been hacked, it should have ended the story, but it didn't. In fact, her claim only made things worse. It didn't sound like a genuine explanation. It sounded like cleanup. People began digging. Her timeline hadn't been compromised. Her other posts were intact. There was no strange spam or activity that usually comes with real account takeovers. It looked like a classic case of hit the wrong button, panic, delete it, and issue a quick excuse. But here's the thing. Tina Knowles isn't new to the internet, and she's not careless. In fact, she's spent years curating her public image, especially in the wake of Beyoncé's fame and Jay-Z's scandals. She rarely speaks out, never engages with gossip, and always keeps her brand aligned with grace, family, and professionalism. She knows exactly what a like can mean. So when she appeared on the run-through with Vogue podcast just a few weeks later and tried to laugh it off, people weren't buying it. She said she often messes up on social media, that she relies on voice to text and doesn't really know how Instagram works. She joked about being always clumsy with her phone, but it didn't land as a joke.
Every once in a while, I'll get a call from Blue and she'll say, Grandma, that's really whack what you just said. That's really whack. You should delete that. Really, you should delete that.
What it sounded like was deflection. Because if you pay attention to Tina's past, she has a very specific pattern. She protects her family at all costs. She never publicly criticizes Beyoncé or Jay-Z's business connections. She never speaks on industry politics. So for her to like that post, accidentally or not, means one of two things. Either it really was a tech mishap, or it was a brief moment where her real opinion slipped through. And when she realized the weight of what she just revealed, she did what any mother would do. She tried to shield her children. Because whether or not she meant to like that post, it was the first visible sign that Tina Knowles may no longer be aligned with the Combs family. And maybe, just maybe, she had finally seen enough to make her draw the line. Public reaction clip. It's always the silence from the mothers that tells you the most. Tina's silence was broken, and I believe it wasn't by accident. If that moment exposed a crack in Tina's armor, then what it revealed about Janice Combs was far more alarming. Because as Tina quietly tried to distance herself from the chaos, Janice was only getting louder. While Tina Knowles was doing everything she could to quietly step back from the chaos, Janice Combs did the opposite. She went all in. As the lawsuits mounted and Diddy's name made daily headlines for all the wrong reasons, Janice released a scathing public statement. She claimed the world was lynching her son in public before he even had a chance to speak. It was emotional, it was defensive, but more than anything, it was revealing. She didn't just stand by him, she minimized everything. She said Diddy wasn't perfect, that he may have made mistakes. She referred to accusations of violence, and abuse as narratives meant to destroy him. And when it came to the disturbing video of Diddy attacking Cassie in a hotel hallway, a video the world had already seen with their own eyes, Janice waved it off. She said, "Sometimes the truth and a lie become so closely intertwined that it becomes terrifying to admit one part of the story." To victims and critics alike, that wasn't just tone deaf, it was insulting. The backlash was immediate. People called Janice delusional, others called her complicit, and some went even further, asking if she was more than just a mother defending her son, and maybe a key player in the system that protected him for decades. Because if you look at the timeline, Janice was always nearby. She was there at the parties. She was there in the luxury cars and mansions Diddy gifted her. She was there when the lawsuits started stacking up. And instead of backing away, she pushed forward with statements designed to clear his name. Statements that sounded less like a grieving mother and more like a crisis manager. And this wasn't the first time. Just months before, when Diddy was on the verge of arrest following a federal raid, Janice was suddenly rushed to the hospital with chest pain. TMZ reported that Diddy dropped everything to be by her side, but the timing raised eyebrows. Some speculated it was a diversion tactic, a well-timed distraction to humanize him, or worse, delay a potential arrest. And then, just like that, she was fine. She left the hospital. No diagnosis ever confirmed, no follow-up reports, just silence. To many watching, the message was clear. Janice wasn't going to let Diddy fall alone. And if there was a line she wouldn't cross, no one had seen it yet. Which brings us to the next question. What kind of relationship was this? Because as disturbing as her loyalty was, it was what came next that truly left people speechless. As Diddy's scandals worsened, public attention began to shift towards something that had always been there, but had rarely been questioned: his oddly intense relationship with his mother, Janice Combs. It wasn't just that she defended him, it was how she defended him. The emotional statements, the unwavering denial of wrongdoing, the excuses that seemed designed not just to protect Diddy's image, but to erase what everyone could clearly see. Then came the footage. One video in particular went viral. In it, Diddy is seen kissing Janice on the lips, holding her close, and calling her single and while they both received IV drips together. An eerie parallel to what Cassie described in her lawsuit about the fueled freak-offs.
What's up, Ma?
Everything's good, baby. I'm here with you.
Yeah.
I love you.
Love you too.
That clip shook people. Janice wasn't in the background of that video. She was right there, matching nails, matching energy, and in the same post-party recovery routine that Diddy reportedly enforced on the women in his circle. Commenters called it disturbing, uncomfortable, and even predatory. Some brought up R. Kelly's infamous comments about his own mother, noting that the parallels felt a little too similar. Janice didn't respond, but Diddy did by doubling down. In multiple live streams and interviews, he joked about how chill his mom was, how she partied with him, and even mentioned taking her to the strip club. Most people laughed nervously, others were horrified. It wasn't just that Janice enabled his behavior, it was beginning to look like she was part of it. Not just in business, not just emotionally, but physically present at events where women were allegedly manipulated and assaulted. Former security guard Gene Deal had already accused her of being at Diddy's infamous parties. But now, with the resurfaced videos and live streams, those claims didn't seem far-fetched anymore. One fan said it best: "She's not just a bystander. She's in the frame. She's on camera. She's wearing the uniform. That's not a mother-son relationship. That's a cult leader and his second in command." And then came the whispers, the quiet speculation that maybe Janice wasn't just complicit. Maybe she was the blueprint, the one who taught Diddy how to dominate, how to manipulate, and how to survive without ever truly being held accountable. Even Diddy himself admitted during a 2006 interview with Oprah that it was Janice who drilled into him the importance of control. When he was 9, a kid stole money from him. Janice locked the door and told him not to come back until he got it back, by any means necessary. "She told me, if someone puts hands on you, make sure they never do it again," Diddy recalled. She knew the reality. If people smell weakness, they take advantage of you. That wasn't just advice, it was a worldview. And for Diddy, it became his operating system. Now, as he faces dozens of allegations, lawsuits, and public scrutiny, many are starting to realize something that had been in front of them the whole time. Janice Combs didn't just raise a troubled man, she raised him exactly how she wanted him to be. Behind every empire is a ledger, and behind Bad Boy Entertainment's rise to power was a web of deals, deals, handshakes, and according to one former insider, outright theft. That insider was Kirk Burroughs, a founding executive at Bad Boy and the godfather to Diddy's firstborn son. At one time, Burroughs held 25% of the company, but by the time his relationship with Diddy soured, he says he was forced to sign everything away under the threat of violence. His lawsuit outlines a chilling scene. Diddy confronting him in his office, armed with a baseball bat. Burroughs was pressured into handing over his shares, and then watched as those shares were quietly transferred into Janice Combs' name. She wasn't in the room, but according to Burroughs, she knew exactly what was happening and played a direct role in the cover-up. The suit doesn't stop at fraud. It accuses Janice of participating in a decades-long scheme of intimidation, financial concealment, and misrepresentation. That's not passive involvement. That's active coordination. And in the eyes of Burroughs, she was just as much a player in Diddy's power games as the mogul himself. What makes this even more disturbing is what happened afterward. Once the deal was done, Burroughs says he was blackballed, locked out of the industry he helped build. His phone stopped ringing, his name vanished from credits, and the company he once helped create now belonged to the man who threatened him and the mother who allegedly helped facilitate the theft. If true, that means Janice didn't just defend her son from the sidelines. She benefited. She profited. She walked away holding a piece of Bad Boy that was never hers to begin with. And yet, in public, she remained the sweet, supportive mom. She appeared on red carpets. She gave interviews. She let Diddy name management companies and restaurants after her. Mama Dukes, Janice Combs Management, Janice Combs Music Publishing. She was everywhere, and yet somehow nowhere near the mess. That changed when the lawsuits came. People started asking, how did Janice afford the mansion in New York? The Bentleys? The private security? Why was she always at the events but never answering questions? And more importantly, how much of Diddy's fortune was funneled through her name? Even former employees hinted that Janice's role went far beyond that of a supportive mother. Gene Deal suggested that Diddy may have stashed assets under Janice's name to protect himself in case lawsuits ever came. A legal shell, a safety net.
He'd probably be safe having money and things in her name. Do you understand that?
If that's true, then Janice wasn't just enabling him emotionally, she was enabling him legally, helping insulate him from the very consequences now coming to light. And Tina Knowles, she likely saw the writing on the wall, because while one mother was working quietly to protect her family from the fallout, the other might have helped cause the explosion in the first place. By now, the differences between Tina Knowles and Janice Combs couldn't be more stark. Tina, the quiet guardian of a billion-dollar empire, chose her words carefully, until that one Instagram like exposed what many believed she had kept to herself. Whether it was a mistake or a moment of clarity, it revealed something powerful. A line had been crossed, and Tina, whether intentionally or not, had taken a side. Janice Combs, on the other hand, never backed down. As the world turned against her son, she went on the offensive. She issued emotional public statements defending him, questioned the intentions of victims, and made excuses even in the face of undeniable video evidence. In her mind, Diddy was not a predator or a monster. He was her boy, her legacy, her empire, and no matter what he had done, she would fight for him with everything she had. But the world was watching, and the world was changing. More and more people began to see Janice not as a grieving, loyal mother, but as a powerful figure in her own right, one who may have helped build the very empire that now stands accused of harboring abuse, fraud, and corruption. Her presence at parties, her name on company documents, her defense of Diddy's most indefensible actions, it all painted a picture not of innocence, but of complicity. And then there's the footage. The viral clips of her and Diddy exchanging kisses, recovering from parties together, and joking about strip clubs didn't help her case. In fact, they only fueled the uncomfortable theory that Janice's influence on Diddy didn't just shape his success, it shaped his dysfunction. So when Tina Knowles hit that like button back in December, it wasn't just gossip. It was a signal, a rare and subtle form of protest from a woman who knows how this industry works, and who likely knows what really happens behind closed doors. Maybe Tina didn't expect anyone to notice. Maybe she thought it would go under the radar, but it didn't. Because in an industry built on silence, even the smallest act of honesty can create shockwaves. And in that moment, Tina Knowles said what so many were too afraid to say, that Janice Combs may not be the victim, that maybe she's been holding the secrets all along. In the end, these are two mothers who represent two very different kinds of loyalty. One stayed quiet, pulled back, and let the world figure out the truth. The other stood in front of the fire, not to stop it, but to shield the one who may have started it. And now that everything's burning, we're left with the one question no one can ignore. What did Janice Combs really do to her own son? And who else paid the price? Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.